Shanda, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting of the City of Socorro City Council session begins. Gentlemen, please remove your hats. Everyone please silence all electronic equipment. No disruptive behavior or operation will be tolerated and violated or subject to ejection and possible prosecution. La Junta de Concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro está por empezar. Caballeros, por favor, de quitarse las cachuchas, sombreros y todos, por favor, de poner en silencio todo equipo electrónico. No se va a tolerar ningún tipo de comportamiento perjudicial o revoltoso. A quien no siga estas reglas se le sacará y puede ser infraccionado. Thank you.
Item number 3, establishment of quorum.
René Rodríguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Here.
Ralph Duran is absent. Mayor Elia Garcia.
Here.
Victor Perez.
Here.
And Ivan Colombia Lopez.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Item number 4, public comment.
We have no speakers for public comment.
Can we entertain a motion to move item number 42 and 43 next?
Excuse me?
42 and 43 next?
Yes, I make a motion to move up 42 and 43.
Second.
René Rodríguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez.
Aye.
Ivan Colombia Lopez.
Yes.
Item number 42, discussion and action to appoint Albert Ortiz to the Civil Service Commission, Place 1.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
René Rodríguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez.
Aye.
Ivan Colombia Lopez.
Yes.
Item number 43, discussion and action to appoint Carlos Hernandez to the Civil Service Commission, Place 4.
Motion to approve.
Second.
René Rodríguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez.
Aye.
Ivan Colombia Lopez.
Yes.
Mayor, can I say something real quick? I would just like to point out something that that Mr. Hernandez wrote that I think is very important just to say. He wrote, I believe that it is very important that all citizens once in their life contribute to their community. I think that is well said.
Thank you.
Just wanted to say that.
Albert Ortiz.
I, Carlos Hernández. Do solemnly
Do solemnly swear.
swear
They will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of the Civil Service
of
Commission
Civil Service Commission
for the City of Socorro, Texas,
for the city of Socorro, Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and I will, to the best of my ability,
will
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
the Constitution and laws
of the
of the
United States.
and of the states.
Albert Ortiz.
I, Carlos Martín Hernández,
Do
do
solemnly
solemnly
swear
swear
that I
that I
have not
directly or non-directly
indirectly
paid,
paid, offered,
promise to pay,
to pay,
promise to contribute
promise to contribute
any money
money or
in
thing of value
or any
public
public
employment
or employment
as
as
reward
reward to secure my appointment, confirmation of law.
Item number 5, presentation by city manager regarding April's 2019 monthly report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to go ahead and provide you some highlights for our monthly report in April. The Municipal Courts Department collected $77,540, received 248 citations from Socorro PD, 9 citations from DPS, and 56 ordinance violations. Our Human Resources Department it will celebrate April and May's birthdays and anniversaries on May 24th. There was no civil service meeting for the month of April, 0 separations, and we had 2 new hires in April. 2 police officers, Abraham Guerrero and Raimundo Perez. Our Parks and Public Works Department did a neighborhood cleanup on Cebu neighborhood, Socorro Mission Subdivision, and the Bauman Estates Subdivision. There was 19 pothole repairs. Some of them are Moon Road, Place Road, Rankin, Sheffield, and Rio Vista. The Stockyard Ponding cleanup preparing for monsoon season. 20 street sign repairs, assisted with the Easter extravaganza, and continued to maintain and mow all Groom City parks. Our police department received 1,945 calls for service in the month of April. There was an induction ceremony. Our K-9 conducted 6 stops, leading into 5 arrests. Officers continued to attend trainings to keep them in compliance with certifications for TICO requirements. Our city clerk department prepared agendas for meetings scheduled for April 4th, 18th, and 24th. Prepared minutes for the April 24th meeting. Received 38 open records requests and responded to 35. Prepared 2 publications, public hearings for Ordinance 451 and 459. Our Planning and Zoning Department collected in the month of April $30,613, issued 164 permits, 83 registrations, 8 applications, and 18 letters. Code enforcement did 340 notice of violations, 254 complied, 36 citations were issued. Our Recreations Department, on April 17th, they had their senior citizen baseball game. April 19th, National Trust visit. April 20th, our color run with the Easter event. April 26th, the induction ceremony. Attended, no HLC meeting, lack of quorum, and kept up with all social media platforms and media inquiries. Our IT department, Vineyard offices conversion was completed, creation of the public engagement on the city's website, and troubleshooted all IT-related issues for all departments. Our grants department did a development of the Fair Housing Media Campaign, development of the 2020 Census webpage, development and training to city staff with the MS4 responsibilities, and continue to work with various departments for grant assistance. And those are the highlights for the month of April. I don't know if you all have any questions.
Mr. Rodriguez?
It says here that we missed 39 swipes on our clock. Did we already fix that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Swipes, like people coming in and they have to clock in.
Right.
They have like a card and go, and they missed 39 times. So I was thinking if it's an issue with our system, and if that was the case, then if we already fixed it, they already said yes.
Correct. So the clock was not connecting with the system, and that's kind of what occurred. So in order for us to be able to track their time, we have to have a mispunch report that is signed by the employee and the employer, their supervisor.
And the reason why I was asking is because if it's an outdated system, do we?
No, we
have to-
just
Okay.
implemented that system not too long ago.
So I guess you're just working on the bugs.
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Mayor,
Ms. Villalobos?
and also you said HLC, the lack of quorum. Are we missing members? Do we have a full board?
No, I think we have a board that will constitute a quorum. It's just due to either scheduling conflicts or illnesses. We haven't been able to have a quorum.
Since when, do you know?
Last.
This is our first month of having a forum. Our chair fractured his bone, so she was unable to attend.
Okay. But I guess what I'm saying is we have every seat filled.
I believe we have one
Correct.
vacancy in the mayor's office.
Okay.
She gets-
Alrighty. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, presentation from Socorro High School Spring 2019 interns.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. It is my great pleasure today to introduce our 2019 Socorro High School interns. 2 of the 3 interns have completed a full scholastic year with us, working from August all the way to May. The third is an exemplary student who chose to come on board outside of obligation from her schoolwork. Without further ado, I would like to present to you the 2019 spring interns.
Good afternoon. We're the 2019 spring interns. My name is Valeria Bautista. I am a senior at Socorro High School. I'm the student who came of my own time. I started on January of 2019, and this is our presentation. In these 2 pictures, as you can see, the first one to the left, we took our senior citizens to Chihuahua's game. And the one on the right, we went to the 911 center as one of our field trips to learn more about how the system works.
Good afternoon, my name is Itzel Rodriguez, and I'm an intern from Socorro, City of Socorro. I'm a student from Socorro High School. I'm a senior, and I'm at the program of Business Practicum and Management. I have been working in this internship from 1 year. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ashley Espinosa. I'm a junior at Socorro High School, and I have been interning with the City of Socorro in the Department of Recreation and Public Relations for a year now.
So I am in the Recreations and Public Relations Department as well. So who was my supervisor? My supervisor was specifically Victor Reta, but I also had mentoring from the rest of the department. For example, Eunice Marquez helped me out when I was operating at the Shayo, Apodaca, and Rio Vista community centers. My job was primarily to be there and help the community out when they came in, and help them out using the computers, or help them out when they were studying. And when I was operating at the Chaya Apodaca Center, I discovered that many people in the community take a lot of advantage from this center. And I realized that I could help them out in everything that they needed. I also provided customer service. I answered the phone. I answered questions they had when they came in. I filed important documents for data for future use, and I helped organize and supervise community events, like, for example, the color run, when we took the senior citizens out, and stuff like that. So my best memory was actually the color run. I really enjoyed it because as a department, we came together to organize this. We communicated a lot. I learned leadership skills that I know will help me out for my future. I really liked how I could help out, even though I'm a senior in high school. I knew I could go to Victor and say, like, hey, this is not working out. We can do something else to fix it. And I feel like this was one of my best memories, because I realized that I was important to the community and I could make a change.
My department was grants and special projects. My supervisor was Alejandra Valadez, and my job was apply for grants, create surveys, give information about stormwater and about the census of 2020, create ideas of how we can improve our community, and create a web page about our new project, who is about art, culture, and more, about history. My best memory was also the color run. I enjoyed the fact of people spending time with their families and enjoying the time with their friends. I enjoyed how they were having fun in here, and I like the fact that I could help and give more information about people who didn't know about the census of 2020. Here are some images where I help at the Health Fest, giving information also about the census of 2020, and I was helping leading the Pledge of Allegiance at the ¿cómo se llama? Induction. I'm sorry about the induction. Also, I help at the Harvest Festival, creating a model of a car splitting oil and how it can contaminate or pollute or drains and more. Thank you.
My department was Recreation and Public Relations as well. My supervisor was primarily Victor Reta, but everybody in his department helped me in some way. I was trained in different things. Eunice, for instance, taught me how to answer phones, transfer calls. Lizbeth taught me how to operate. Rio Vista, how to open and close. One of our newest employees, Diana, she taught me how to open and close Chayo and how I can manage it better. And Rocio taught me how to do transportation logs for Victor. My job was organizing city events. It was a lot of customer service every day. Operating the front desk, coordinating social media campaigns, and of course, answering the calls. And mainly it's helping the constituents that came into each community center with whatever, to my best ability that I could. These are some of my best memories. The picture with me holding the plaque was one of my biggest milestones in the internship. I placed first in regionals for the Business Practicum Management program at Socorro High School, and I continued on to state, which I placed 6th place, thanks to Victor and my teacher, Mrs. Matsuda. And the other pictures are some of my favorite memories, which are mostly from events, except the one with the seniors. I absolutely love to work at the Rio Vista Community Center in the mornings because the seniors are there. They are loving people and they're very funny, believe it or not. And some of the other pictures are with my other employees that I'm very close to and who I have been able to confide in for things even outside of work. We have prepared a video as well.
Hi, my name is Valeria Bautista. I work with the Department of Recreations and Public Relations. I've been working with the City of Socorro for approximately 4 to 5 months, and I'm a senior at Socorro High School.
My name is Itzel Rodriguez, and I work for the Department of Grants and Special Projects. And I have 1 year working with this internship at City of Socorro.
My name is Ashley Espinosa, and I am an intern for the City of Socorro in the Department of Recreation and Public Relations. I've been interning with the City of Socorro for about a year now.
First, I wanted to work with the IT, but being in this department, I've learned so much about communications. I've learned that I can meet a lot of people. I've learned that I can help the community through events that are not necessarily like very serious, but they help out a lot to bring the community together and to help us, for example, with the census and to know each other and what's going on around.
I apply for grants. I give information about the census of 2020 and stormwater pollution. Also, I create surveys for people to know what programs they would like.
What made me apply for the internship was my teacher, my English teacher. She told me of this opportunity that I had. I didn't have to apply, but I wanted to apply because I wanted to grow and I wanted to see what was happening around me in my community.
First, I have to sign it in a paper with my co-op teacher. Then I went to an interview where it was my first interview. I was so nervous at the first time, but after that, everything was okay. I was relaxed.
Pretty simple. It's like getting into any other job. You apply for it, and if your resume looks good and your cover letter, you'll get a call back for an interview, and if you're successful in the interview, you should be able to get the internship.
I believe that the hardest part is to, honestly, I don't think there's a hard part.
The hardest part of my job would be the events, only because a lot of work goes into it. Not necessarily hard, but it's just very meticulous and you need to be on it.
It was more than what I expected. Honestly, I didn't expect that much work. Sometimes I had to wake up too early, like at 4 a.m. because I had an event at 6. So no, it was difficult.
Expectations were that I wasn't going to be given so much responsibility, or I wasn't going to be entrusted as much because I am just an intern, but they were the complete opposite of that.
Office skills, I learned how to speak in front of the people and control my nervousness. I learned how to use a computer, like an Office, Excel, PowerPoint, all the programs.
How to communicate efficiently, how to answer phones, how to communicate with people, how to keep being patient.
Technically, where my subject for my career, it's gonna be about the office, and I can speak more in front of a lot of people without getting all nervous like before.
Because I've definitely come out of my comfort zone. So I think next year I'll be able to do a lot more, if not in the internship, then with a job out in the real world.
My goals after high school are to go to college and to get a degree in information technology. And I want to help out other people, and I want to travel the world. My favorite memory was the color run. I feel like we came together as interns and with the staff, and we were doing a great job helping out, and we were doing a great job communicating with each other, so the event was successful.
Because I get out of my comfort zone, and I do a lot of different things. Mostly I do social media, which is my favorite thing to do. So it is my favorite event.
I would say that you should totally give it a try. It's really fun. You learn a lot of things and you may communicate, like you know a lot of people that I know that they will help me afterwards. And you learn about your community and how in need some people are and how you can be a service for them.
Try your best. Get out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to try new things. And trust your supervisors. They know what's best for you. If they are willing to learn more things and get out of their comfort zone, yes. At this time, if you guys have any questions, we would be more than happy to answer them for you.
Mr. Rodriguez?
I've been at it since 4, so what are you gonna take from this? Like, on all honesty, is this something that you expected coming in, and whatever you learned from the city and the staff, do you have a different point of view of how the inner workings of the city, and is this really going to help you further in your, future jobs endeavors?
The internship is definitely not what I expected. Like I said, I really didn't think Victor was gonna trust me with so much, but he did. And at first, it was a lot for me to handle because I was expecting to basically do nothing. So it was a little bit hard for me to adjust because being in Victor's department, it's a lot of talking to people, and I am not a people person. I have trouble speaking to people, so it was a huge adjustment for me. So I think that's something that I will definitely carry with me, how to better communicate with people, because I think that will take you far in life. And working for the city has made me appreciate the city of Socorro so much, because I see the hard work that goes into being a community, and we don't have that many employees, so everybody who does something for us, it makes a big difference. So it did open my eyes to appreciate what we have more.
Thank you. And you're doing wonderful in your speech, let me tell you, because not a lot of people come in here and they start sweating, and it's very difficult to start. No, because it is. I remember the first time I got on that podium, but you're doing great.
Thank you.
May I ask for a question for this young lady? What did you learn about the census, and how many people did you get a lot of feedback with the people when you were out there doing the census and giving information out?
Well, good afternoon. A lot of people didn't want to hear me, honestly. But I just told them what was important, that they have to participate in the census of 2020 that is on April 1st. I have trouble with them.
Yes. So
It
the
was
feedback,
difficult.
A lot of people didn't want to approach you.
No.
Okay. But the people that did, you try to make them understand, right, that this is something good?
Yes, I tried to combine them, but it was difficult, honestly.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
No, you're doing
No,
very well.
I don't want to. I'll leave the last one for any of you guys. Oh, no, go right ahead. No, I'm going to be the bad guy here. Asking questions. Okay, take the last one. I don't have any questions.
I'll do.
Okay.
I just want to thank you and commend you for participating, for getting up early. I know how hard that is. It is hard for me, for going out there and helping Mr. Rieta, because if it wasn't people like you, those events that I have attended, they're pretty spectacular. And if the audience hasn't attended, they're pretty spectacular, and it's young people like them that help us put it together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, there we go. There we go.
I am very proud that you all participated in this. Victor, thank you so much for taking the lead on it. You did an awesome job. Wherever you go, take Socorro with you. Whether it's out of state, in El Paso, wherever you go,
take Socorro with you. Make sure you tell them that Socorro is not a rinky-dink, rural, backwards kind of town. It isn't. And because I can tell you that I've spoken to UTEP students and they'll say, Socorro? You know, and so I would like for you to take that with you. Be proud of where you come from. Never forget where you come from. And that'll take you far as well. Because it's in service to other people that makes you great as well. All right? So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Last question for you. Since nobody wanted to ask questions, I'm going to ask you the last question. How different of a view did you come in to do the internship? Did you think? Was it going to be like? And at the end, what are you taking from the city that you're going to be able to apply in your life?
Just came in. I saw the hard work Victor and his staff put into the things they were doing. I would always see them like trying to do things the right way, and I feel like as honest as they were and as hardworking as they were, I want to be in the future. And I think that also public speaking, I don't like to speak in public, but yeah, I went out of my comfort zone to try and do my job and to, well, seeing their example, working hard as well.
Thank you. I want to thank you because it's very hard work, and not only hard work, but I know it's your time. And time for me is very valuable, and I want to say thank you because not everybody does it. I wish everybody did, because then they will understand how hard work, not what you see up here, but what really goes on in the city, you know, jobs that everybody has. And I just want to thank you. I really do, and I appreciate everything you've done with us. And I just have nothing but respect for you. I wish I would have done it when I was your age. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Delgado, Assistant Principal for Socorro High School, as well as our City Council to take a group photo with the interns. Can I have Ms. Alejandra Valdez help me at the podium? So before we take our photo, Alejandra and I are going to present our interns with their completion certificates.
Moving on to consent agenda, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Leonard Rodriguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez.
Aye.
Ivan Polo Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 14, Public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro Master Plan and rezoning of Lot 31, Block 11, Delip Subdivision, located at 10209 India Court from R1, Single Family Residential to R2, Medium Density Residential to build a duplex. (6:38) Public hearing is now open.
It's not opening? Oh, okay. I'm here today to see if, on 10209. Excuse me?
Can you please state your name?
Oh, my name's Rosa Ortega, and I'm the owner of the lot at 10209 India. I would like to rezone it from R1 to R2. ¿Cómo le hago para el otro?
Just talk about whatever you want to say there, and then you close it, and then you open the next one.
And how do I close it? Here?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to rezone it to R2. As you can see, I went around the neighborhood, and you have dwellings, and a house with an apartment in the back. The city planning and zoning maps show that all the neighborhoods are R1, but as you all can see, I'm going to show you different pictures showing that you have 2 to 3 dwellings in each lot. This one's not it. Let me see. Open it. Okay, this is a single, in one of the lots, it's a single mobile home, and then in the back you have a fifth wheeler where people seem to be living in. This one is a rental property. It's in the back of commercial properties are in the front of North Loop, and this is to the back of North Loop. You can see that they have rental properties there too. Those are apartments also around that neighborhood, and like I say, everything's zoned as R1. And I just drove around the neighborhood and I saw this. Here you have two dwellings in one property. This has 3 dwellings in one property. And again, 2 dwellings in one property. That's what I'm trying to do, put a duplex in that piece of lot. It's an empty lot, and it would meet all city codes and requirements. Thank you.
(6:42) Public hearing is now closed. Item number 15, second reading and adoption of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro Master Plan and rezoning of Lot 31, Block 11, Delip Subdivision, located at 10209 India Court from R1, Single Family Residential to R2, Medium Density Residential to build a duplex.
Make a motion to deny the application due to the Planning and Zoning Department recommends denial, and also our Planning and Zoning Commissioner recommends denial for the purpose of considering spot zoning, and that's why I recommend denial.
Second.
Mr. Perez?
Joe, I think that we've been made aware of a situation in that area then, if that's the case, because we're not, apparently, they may have been, those buildings are not, I doubt that there's a permit for them. And I don't know, I'm just assuming, and I don't wanna, but it seems like those kinda crept up on us.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Those buildings that you saw there, they were built, some of those buildings are grandfathered.
Okay.
As you can see, the subdivision was recorded in 1960. So some of those buildings were there before 1986.
Okay.
The reason this is considered spot zoning is because the entire subdivision was classified as R1. And by changing the zone on one of the properties, you would be allowing a higher density than the surrounding zone. So what happens when those buildings, at some point in time, they're gonna either come down, burn down, or something's gonna happen to them. So if something happens to,
God forbid that, no.
Yeah.
yes, so when something happens to those buildings, they change the condition, they cannot rebuild.
Right.
They would only be allowed to build a single-family home as was established on the zoning ordinance.
Ms. Villalobos?
So, and I noticed here that the Planning and Zoning Commission also denied it. Was it for the same, it's not noted here, so I'm assuming it's for the same reasons?
Yes,
as-
correct.
Okay,
It's
there
the
was
same
no-
reason. It's because it's considered spot zoning. So if you rezone this property to R2, in the future, if something changes, they can be allowed to build apartments, which is a higher density than a single-family home.
And the resident here today, purchased this property when? January of this year. And, were you, well, I don't know if I can ask her, but were you aware that it was, single residential?
Yes,
dwelling?
she was made aware at the time of the application. She was explained how the zoning works, but she still decided to give it a try. Oh, okay. Not at the time of the purchase, but at the time of the application
At
when
the
she submitted.
application.
Yes.
Right, that's what I'm, okay. Alrighty. Thank you.
Rene Rodriguez?
I would just like to say something real quick. Not everybody, I wanna say thank you because not everybody comes and does it the right way. So I wanna say thank you because I like your plans. It would have been a beautiful complex. I know that for sure. But I will tell you this, is that we've been having issues here in the city of Socorro for many years. And this is the kind of stuff that we would like to see here in Socorro, that people come and bring us their plans and stuff and do it the right way. Unfortunately, it is spot zoning, and that's why I vote yes to deny.
It's the last lot, is that?
I know. I'm sorry.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez?
Aye.
And Ivan Colo Villalobos?
I too am
Yeah.
sorry that we cannot, move forward with your plan. It's beautiful, and I wish everybody would do the same thing as well. But unfortunately, we cannot, do spot zoning. It's very unfortunate. Yes.
Item number 16, public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro Master Plan and rezoning of Tracts 13B and 18, Block 12, and Tracts 1, 3A, and 3C, Block 27, Socorro Grant from A1, agricultural to R2, medium density residential for a new development.
Make a motion to approve?
647,
sorry.
public hearing is now open.
My bad. My bad. Jumped the gun.
Six 648, public hearing is now closed. Item number 17, Second reading and adoption of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro Master Plan and rezoning of Tracts 13B and 18, Block 12, and Tracts 1, 3A, 3C, Block 27, Socorro Grant from A1 Agricultural to R2 Medium Density Residential for a new development.
Motion for approval for discussion.
Second.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Since it's adjacent to Socorro Road, are we asking for a little bit of right-of-way just in case the state allows us to?
This property does not touch Socorro Road. As you can see, there's another subdivision that is separating Socorro Road from this proposed new development. This development is gonna extend into San Elizario. This is the only portion that will fall inside the city of Socorro. And they're asking for R2 classification.
Okay. Yeah, I read the map wrong, sorry.
Mr. Perez?
So are they that small area that does hit Socorro Road, that's also going to be subdivided, or do we know if it'll be, I know we're just doing the zoning change now, but that would be part of a development?
Only the area that you see outlined in the yellow, this is the only area that they're asking for the zoning change.
Oh, okay.
This is outside of the scope of work. It's not inside the subdivision or proposed subdivision.
Okay, because I was looking at this, I apologize.
No, that's only the location map to try to show you where
So would you just show me where Socorro Road is?
Socorro Road is right here.
Okay. Oh, so it's just,
It's off of Fray Holguin. This is Fray Holguin. I'm sure you're familiar with that little roadway.
Yes.
It's at the end of Fray Holguin, actually.
Ms. Villalobos?
I have a couple of questions. Right now, it's just the rezoning, but have they given you the intentions of how many lots, what size?
No, they still haven't brought because it depends on the zoning that you're gonna approve. They are proposing some open space. We did meet with a developer and briefly talk about the master plan that they're proposing here. They wanna provide the city with 2 baseball parks and some residential lots over here. They also have plans for San Elizario. However, the zoning that they are asking for San Elizario is different from Socorro. In Socorro, the only area or part of the development is going to be residential. When they finish the preliminary plan, you're going to see the entire development, how they're going to propose it.
Mr. Rodriguez?
No, I was gonna ask the same question, but we're good. Thank you.
So that's why the reason we made a note there that they're asking for R2 with an open space, because we still don't know how big the open space is gonna be.
Ms. Villalobos?
Just, just so we don't, we're not running into the same problems we are. The traffic control, the traffic there is already, I believe, way over its capacity. Is there another road besides Socorro that they'll be using to exit?
Yes, there's also gonna be access to Thompson Road in San Elizario, and there's gonna be another access here on Brisa del Valle and Holguin. So there's gonna be several access points to this new development.
How about to the freeway? Their main source will be Socorro Road?
Well, there's also access through Thompson. Thompson will go eventually to Camino de la Rosa and Alameda, and that will take them eventually to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clint. Okay. Alrighty. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez?
aye.
And Iván Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Item number 18, public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro Master Plan and rezoning of Lot 10, Block 1, Buford View Estates, located at 254 Buford Road, from R1, Single Family Residential, to C1, Light Commercial, to establish a daycare business. 6:52, public hearing is now open. 6:53, public hearing is now closed. Item number 19, second reading and adoption of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro Master Plan and rezoning of Lot 10, Block 1, Buford View Estates located at 254 Buford Road from R1, Single Family Residential to C1, Light Commercial to establish a daycare business.
I'm gonna throw out the motion there. I motion to deny.
I second that.
Mr. Perez?
If this is right in front of Escondidas Elementary School, and if you're aware, there is heavy traffic in the morning. I don't know what they're going to do to be able to control that with the kids. I mean, I don't know. At this point, I'm familiar with that. I'm very familiar with that area. I drive it almost every day. I don't know. I'll just let the motion. It's where Sid Bakery is, or the Sid Grocery Store.
Okay.
And it's right in front of Escondidas.
Now I know where it's at.
Can you do a close-up of the property? And I have a comment.
So when we had the public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission, one of the neighbors was against the request. After the public hearing, a few days later, we received a letter that you see in your backup with some of the signatures of the neighbors that are opposing the project. Some of the signatures that you see there, there's multiple signatures in one property. We counted a total of 6 neighbors that are opposing the property or the request.
Mr. Perez?
And again, yes, there may be neighbors that may oppose it, but when you're looking at the peak hours of traffic there, to me to me it's dangerous. It is dangerous for the kids in the elementary school. I don't know. I wish I could say yes to it, but in good conscience I can't. That would be my opinion.
Mr. Nevares?
Going back to the list of the neighbors in that area, the same owners own a couple of those properties there. There's not that many of them. Have you taken the time to review all of these complaints?
Yes, I personally was reading through some of them, but most of them, as you can see, they're not really facts, but opinions. This is what the people think, and these are the reasons that they think are affecting them, and those are the reasons that they're using to deny.
What's your opinion of this?
Some of them are correct. Like, for example, number 1, like Mr. Victor said, yes, there is heavy traffic during school hours. However, item number 2, I doubt there's going to be ambulances all day long because it's not in an emergency room.
They didn't state all day long. They just said you're going to
Day or night.
increase.
This is what it says, day or night.
Day or night, not all day long. Now, looking at that picture, does that look like a clean lot to you? What about the surrounding walls from those other properties? According to this, the wall belongs to the neighbors and not that lady. And
Yes.
she's currently renting it, is that true?
No, she's the owner, and she was explained that she was gonna be asked if the rezoning was approved. She agreed to raise a 6-foot wall around the residential zone if the zoning got approved. Because the neighbor who opposed the project owns the wall. He was real specific that he doesn't want the wall to be touched. So she was requested that she build her own wall at least 6 feet high. And she agreed.
Mr. Perez?
Just for the record, the individuals that signed the petition, the majority have the surname of Perez. We are not related. Just so that there is no misunderstanding, there is no relation. Okay. Just
Thank
let
you
know.
for clarifying.
Ms. Villalobos?
Can you tell me why the Planning and Zoning Commission went ahead and approved it with I know with the conditions, were they not aware of what the residents were stating? And were they aware, I believe it states here that she had, or the owner had 2 properties there at one time, or has?
No, she only has one lot, and the reason they recommended to approve was because at the time of the public hearing, we still didn't have the signatures. These came after the meeting. When we had the public hearing, there was only one neighbor opposing the rezoning. Then after the meeting, this is why I provided this back up to you. So you are aware that it came after the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Rodriguez?
I think that my colleagues bring a good point. It is going to be a danger to our children. You know, I don't have my kids in daycare. They go to school, but you know, it's one of those things where it is right across the street. We've heard even KTSM, I believe, had not about a year ago where a little kid just walked out of daycare and was like 3 blocks away. I mean, those are things that happen, and that's something that I can't really, if it was inside the subdivision, that it would be a different story, but I do agree with the rest of my colleagues.
And then also for the record, the daycare they're proposing is an adult daycare, not a child daycare.
Oh. Well, that would have been nice to know.
Yeah, it doesn't say here.
Oh.
Oh, it does look.
Does
To
it?
establish an adult
I
daycare.
apologize, because
Yeah.
I apologize that.
Okay. It says here that, so she had one house, I'm sorry. She had one house divided it into 2. And that's the way she's operating this house right now.
Yes, and she's also gonna have to do some improvements to the existing building to make it ADA accessible.
Right.
And her plans were to have only a maximum of 5 or 6 adults in care or under her supervision.
Okay.
Mr. Perez?
I would consider it, well, rescinding my motion, but even though it is a daycare facility, there has to be, security has to be in place. I don't know, I can go ahead and, I'll go ahead and rescind my motion, but the conditions have to be met.
Ms. Villalobos?
As in my line of business, sometimes I have to help other clients find homes that are adequate or can be adequate for adult daycare. So they do have a long list of regulations from the state before even the state approves it. And I just want to share that with my colleagues here, that they do have to get approved. They do check up on them regularly. And there has to be a lot of mechanisms, including safety gates where they can't get out, tall safety gates, cameras on the outside, et cetera, et cetera. And I just wanted to share that with you. I think now that we know it's an adult daycare center, and they're going to live there, correct? Or are they going to be picked up every day?
Well, they weren't sure if they were gonna have them on a 24-hour basis or just pick up and drop off during the day. However, they did offer parking in the rear to avoid any traffic in the front. Some of the plans that the applicant mentioned was they have this round driveway that they were gonna condition to allow them to, if they go forward with a pickup and drop, they're gonna put ramps and driveways and everything that's necessary, like you said, required by the state, so they can make it accessible for the adults and wheelchair accessible. Parking for whoever's gonna be caring for these adults is gonna be available in the back. There's plenty of room in the back. Right now, the applicant is working on trying to clean up the property. At the time when we went to go inspect the condition of the building, she was already working herself in the front yard, cleaning the overgrowth.
Mr. Perez?
Okay, so how is the ingress and egress going to work? Because from the aerial view to the right, that looks very narrow. So how is that going to work out?
So, and I'm kind of glad you mentioned that, sir, is that one of the things that you have to remember is that aside from the proximity to the school, this is a road that is of regional significance. So in other words, it's recognized by the MPO. What you're about to do is allow the transition of this neighborhood to go into a whole different direction. So the approach here is that if this is allowed, is that there are a lot of conditions that need to be placed on it. The traffic control is one of them, like you're mentioning. So the egress and the ingress has to be established as well. So here is, as I understand it, unless Joe will make the clarification, is that they're here and asking for the zoning component. There is no application here for us to demonstrate how they're gonna ingress and egress from this area. We don't know if it's gonna be a 24-hour operation or some type of component from that. So here, back to your original content is that, you know, although I understand that the department and the commissioners made an approval, just know that this is a transitional component that you may be looking at. So the context of the nature is that for Montana and El Paso, remember, those were all homes.
Right.
They were part of the craftsman homes that were developed. And so over time, because of the necessity that the city saw, they transformed into commercial components. So here is just one of those elements that I would just caution, is that that transition takes place in this type of conformity purpose.
Mr. Nevares?
Is there a list that you've already provided or that you're working on as far as what they need to comply with?
I think that the first thing is that if the zoning is requested, that's one thing that we have to work with the applicant. So here the burden is that, of course, you know, certainly we would like to see the intent, but granting them the zoning, we go back to the M1 and the M2 example, is that they have a list of things that are applicable in that zoning. And if we allow this land use to move forward, they are subject to the full use that's granted through them through the code.
Ms. Villalobos?
So I think you answered the question. So if we change the zoning and they decide not to move forward with the adult daycare, now they can move into something else or move forward with something else?
In theory, that's how it works, yes.
Or they can sell a property as a commercial.
It's commercial.
Mr. Rodriguez?
So at this moment, I would like to make the motion to deny.
Second.
And I want to say this, the MPO does, and Mr. Medina is correct on this, they see this as a significant road. We understand that later on, we're going to have to, you know, if the city wants to, in the future expand, you know, then it's something in the future, but we have to have all our avenues open. And I think that if we do this, we're gonna really, really affect that area. I think that right now we should deny this, for that matter.
Ms. Villalobos?
I have one more question. If we were to approve it, could we just approve it just for the zoning of the adult daycare and that's it?
I
If
think
not,
that's a legal question, ma'am. Hold on.
No, I don't think you can. Once you change it to zoning, you can give them they need a special permit, right? Yeah, you can give them a special permit, and that permits the use authorized with a special permit, but it's still zoned, in the new zoning classification, they can do anything they can do in the C1.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know, and I think.
I need a second.
No, I did second.
Oh.
And I don't usually go back and forth on things like this, but I think that in the overall scheme of things, it is important to think about the safety of our seniors as well, because it's not just, I mean, they're in situations where they actually may need more care than children. And so I agree, and I thank Mr. Rodriguez for coming back with a motion to deny. Second.
Mr. Medina, could they request a conditional use permit and use the lot for the adult daycare without the zoning change?
So essentially, it goes hand in hand, is that you need to have the appropriate zoning.
Right.
The special condition is a contract between the city and the owner. But again, here is that once the zoning is granted, they have the full capacity that's granted to them under the code to use the property as it is, you know, zoned.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Joan Cullen is absent. Victor Perez?
Aye.
Yvonne Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Item number 20, public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Lot 10, Block 2, pool subdivision at 10880 Shanda Circle from C2, general commercial to R1, single-family residential to use the land for residential purposes. 7:08, public hearing is now open.
My name is Sergio Cox. I used to be on council 3 terms. I see where in this issue here, you've got commercial versus residential and residential versus commercial. I want to educate this council a little bit about spot zoning. In the past, when I was on council, spot zoning was used to deny anybody wanting to go into a residential area that was under the master plan the right to come in and put a commercial business because it was illegal spot zoning. That was the way it was utilized back then. You utilize spot zoning here on item number 16 to deny, and then you turn around and on item number 18, you allow a daycare center, which is in the middle of a residential area that is master planned residential, and it is against the law of spot zoning by allowing a commercial business to come into a residential. So you made the right decision in denying it on the second item. But on the first item, I caution you on that. I think that the attorney needs to do a little bit more research on that item about spot zoning, how it's to be utilized, because if it has been if it has changed since the time of the Gandara issue with they wanted to put a dance hall down there on Coca Road in the middle of agricultural and residential area, they were denied, and it was upheld by litigation. So I honestly think that you guys need to go back and reconsider item number 16 and take that under legal advisement before this opens up for liability issues. So, and again, on this item 20, the same thing again. If you're wanting to put a change from general commercial to residential, you better check the master plan and see what that is zoned as. Somebody's dropping the ball here somewhere. This is not being taken into consideration. Thank you.
7:11, public hearing is now closed. Item number 21, second reading and adoption of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Lot 10, Block 2, pool subdivision at 10880 Shanda Circle from C2, general commercial to R1, single-family residential to use the land for residential purposes.
So on this one, the petitioner is asking to change this property from commercial to residential. The reason for that is because he bought the property a long time ago, and he's been trying to sell it as commercial. But because the way the land is subdivided, let me just show you here real quick. His property only extends up to this line right here. The only access that he has to his land is through the back, and he's been having a hard time trying to sell it. So he's asking to rezone this property to residential, and he might be able to sell it maybe in the future. If not, then he might build a single-family home, which is compatible with the adjacent area. In the past, we received complaints from the neighbors because we had petitions on other properties along the front where people were trying to establish mechanic shops or junkyards, and we received some protests from the neighbors. However, on this particular case, the neighbors support this request, and in the future, the person who owns all this land is also gonna request the same thing if this gets approved. They wanna subdivide this land into single-family residential lots.
Mr. Rodriguez?
We're still on
21.
Oh, we're on 21 now? Okay. At this time, I would like to make a motion to approve, but I would like to say that item number 15 and 16, it's not going. You know, these are one of the times where
Sorry.
I just have to bite my tongue. No, that's fine. Thank you, Jim, for just bumming me out. But I would like to say that this is not spot zoning because it's adjacent and it's the back, and you know, I understand that, you know, Jim, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not considered spot zoning, correct?
No, I don't think this is. You're at a transition. I mean, part of it's commercial, and immediately adjacent to it, you've got residential. So if I don't quite understand, if I got the directions right, the one directly to the south
Right.
is residential, and then the one directly to the west is residential. So, I mean, when you're in a transitional area, I mean, there's going to be areas where it's A here, and on the next property line over, it's B. That happens, you can't call that spot zoning, there's gonna be an area where it changes.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve.
And Mike probably knows more about that than I do, he can probably make each chapter and verse.
So the component and the legality of spot zoning is that obviously, you know, in the legal sense is that you're asking for a variance. So here is that, you know, you have a fully unincorporated area with regard to the type of zoning. So as it stands right now, it's all commercial. And so the petitioner here, as I understand the story, bought this property with the intent to use it for a certain purpose. Once he realized and he came before the body, he realized that he couldn't use it for that purpose. So in other terms, we call this a hardship. With the hardship is that it is understood is that the petitioner can no longer economically have an advantage by using the property. Coming before this body and even before the commissioners is that he did not express a hardship. However, this is what a hardship is, and this is what it looks like. So by him purchasing the property under C1 and having the intent to use it otherwise, doesn't fit the definition of hardship. So ultimately here is that it's not necessarily spot zoning, but it's under the disguise of a hardship. So he's asking for the zoning to be changed so that he can still further benefit from an economic component where he self-created it.
And the hardships, you're gonna run into those in the transitional areas where it's zoned one way here and this use is permissible, but you still have the adjoining landowners who have different zoning object to that use because it's in their front yard or their backyard. That's the nature of the transitional zones.
Do we have a second for Mr. Rodriguez's motion?
To approve, second.
Ms. Villalobos?
No, those were my questions. Those exactly my questions. You have answered my questions. I wanted to make sure that not only are we educating the constituents, but ourselves regarding spot zoning, because we've had some of those in the past, and sometimes they're hard to follow because they're in different situations. And that was my question. I wanted to know from you gentlemen, would this be considered spot zoning? And wanted to make it very clear that that it's not before we vote. Thank you.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez?
Aye.
And Yvonne Colom-Villalobos?
Yes.
Item number 22, public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of tracts 9, 10, 12, 13J, 13J1, 13K, 13K1, 13L, and a portion of tracts 2H, 2G, 5A, 6A, and 7, Block 4 Socorro grant from A1, C2, R1, agricultural, general commercial, single-family residential to R2, C2, medium-density residential, general commercial for a new development, East Lake Valley, Unit 2. 7:17, public hearing is now open. 7:18, public hearing is now closed. Item number 23, second reading and adoption of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of tracts 9, 10, 12, 13J, 13J1, 13K, 13K1, 13L, and a portion of tracts 2G, 2H, 2G, 5A, 6A, and 7, Block 4 Socorro grant from A1, C2, R1, agricultural, general commercial, single-family residential to R2, C2, medium density residential, general commercial for a new development, East Lake Valley Unit 2.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Perez?
And this is for my benefit because I don't remember. What can be built under a C2 designation? What kinds of businesses?
I'm sorry?
What kinds of businesses can be built?
They're proposing, they can build buildings, shopping centers, 3,000 square feet or larger.
Okay.
Gas stations, everything else that falls under C1. This development here is the second phase from the one that's already under construction, East Lake Valley. This is right off of the Nuevo Hueco Tanks Boulevard. This is the second phase that is gonna connect or provide connectivity to the Grijalva Valle subdivision. And all this traffic will now flow or be allowed to flow right into the Nuevo Hueco Tanks Road.
Thank you.
And the reason they're asking for, we put it on, as a combination of R2, C2. Most of this development is gonna be R2. There's gonna be very little C2 because that's those are the sections that are gonna cross over into Unit 3 that you're gonna see in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Rene Rodriguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez.
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 24, public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of a portion of tracts 5A, 6A, 6A2, and 7, Block 4 Socorro grant from A1, C2, agricultural, general commercial to PUD, planned unit development for a new subdivision, East Lake Valley Unit 3. 7:20, public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now closed. Item number 25, second reading and adoption of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of a portion of tracts 5A, 6A, 6A2, and 7, Block 4 Socorro grant from A1, C2, agricultural, general commercial to PUD, planned unit development for a new subdivision, East Lake Valley Unit 3.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
On this unit here that you see, what I'm gonna do here real quick, so you can, I'm gonna turn off Unit 2. This is Unit 3. This is all Unit 3. This is a very special situation. They're asking for a planned unit development. This is the very first one that is gonna come into the City of Socorro. Planned unit development is a mixture of commercial and residential properties. We've been using as an example for the public to understand is this is very similar to a development, for those who are familiar, to the Montecillo development. So part of this subdivision, as you can see, is a combination of Unit 2 and Unit 3. But the PUD will be this area, excluding the Mesa drain, or the Mesa spur drain.
Ms. Villalobos?
I'm all for, I guess, smart neighborhoods. Is that a better way to phrase it? Are we talking about like coffee shops and that kind of stuff? Or are we talking mechanical?
No,
you know?
it's a combination of shopping centers, apartments, and residential properties. They're also gonna have parks. They're gonna have walking trails and sidewalks and driveways. Most of The development that, like I said, it's like a mixture of commercial properties like shopping centers, Starbucks or stuff like that.
Maybe have an oxygen bar or something.
And for the record, I'm not saying Starbucks is coming in. It's just an example of what you expect to see there.
Ms. Villalobos?
Is it kind of like you know where the Alamo is across the street?
Yes.
They built, yes, okay,
Right.
beautiful, by the way.
So I think one of the things is that when the department met with the petitioner, is that essentially the history of zoning and the cases that come before you, everything is piecemealed. Okay, the opportunity is here through the plan unit development or the district so that you can get a sense of the approach that's coming. So it's very easy for a developer to come in and say, well, look, I have, say, just 300 acres. I can sell all 300 individually. And then the city will inherit something that probably isn't in the best interest of the city. So the approach here with the plan unit development is that you have a sense of what's coming. In some form, this is also what's called master planning. So you're able to understand what will be built there. And in terms of proportionality, here you're gonna have a mixture of commercial, you're gonna have a mixture of residential, and in some cases even industrial, although we don't allow that under the code anymore. But this is the concept of the master plan and ordinance that you'll see in several weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez?
Aye.
Ivan Colo Villalobos?
Yes.
Item number 26, public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Tracts 14 and 13A, Block 4, Socorro Grant from A1 agricultural to R2 medium density residential for a new development, East Lake Valley Unit 4. 7:25, public hearing is now open.
Good afternoon, Council. Just as a matter of information, is on Unit 1, East Lake, there's 300 residential lots. The lots are sold, they're committed. The contractors have already sold around 225 homes. So when the subdivision is finished in a couple of months, you're gonna see 225 homes come up in about 3 months. So that area is gonna change. The subdivision is very, very well accepted. And the unit that you just approved, number 3, we've already have about half of the apartment land and commercial land committed. So there's a lot of people interested in coming to Socorro.
Mr. Perez?
Just a question, and I've shared this with staff. Is there a Starbucks coming? I've got 3 teenage daughters.
I can tell you who they're talking to. They're talking to Vista, the Vista Supermarket. They're talking to the neighborhood Walmart, Crave, Ardovinos.
Oh, good.
Who else? Oh, there's a gas station. And that's about the ones that I know for sure.
Even an independent coffee shop, because I've...
We'll get a Starbucks.
All right.
We have you recorded and on video.
7:27, public hearing is now closed. Item number 27, second reading and adoption of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Tracts 14 and 13A, Block 4, Socorro Grant from A1 agricultural to R2 medium density residential for a new development, East Lake Valley Unit 4.
Motion to approve as read. I want to start next time.
Third.
No, I just for clarification, that's just joking. I am not committed to the Starbucks. There's nothing in the works. I just.
But you'd be a customer.
I know I've got some daughters that keep asking me.
Yeah, I know. I get that too.
So for this development, this is also an extension of the East Lake Valley Unit 1. It's necessary to rezone this land so they can subdivide it to R2, and then they can provide access to the residents that are landlocked.
Mr. Perez?
And maybe this is not in the same area, but could you point out where the access from behind Saints Peter and Paul is, how it'll be?
So this road, this is Saint Peter and Paul right here.
Okay.
So this is the old Hueco Tanks Road. When it gets to this point, as you can see, you can already see the outline of the new roadway. Recently, this is the Hueco Junction that was approved. This portion of the old Hueco Tanks is going to be vacated because it's not feasible for all this traffic to flow from here and then go back.
Okay.
So in order for that, this road will have to be realigned, and the connection is going to be right here on the median that you see here.
Okay.
And then eventually, this roadway is going to extend into this new proposed development.
All right,
It's-
because I knew that was concerned, so then, and again, I apologize, this is just, it's in the general vicinity. So then, that thoroughfare from behind Saints Peter and Paul, will that be like a traffic stop? Would it be a four-way, how would that?
It's going to be a stop sign.
A stop sign? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I just wanted clarification. Thank you.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent, Victor Perez.
Aye.
And Ivan Colo Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 28, public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro Master Plan and rezoning of Tracts 23A, 23B, 23C, 23D, 24A, 24B, 25A, Block 8 Socorro grants from A1 Agricultural to SU1 Special Use Zone for the expansion of Socorro High School. 729, public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now closed. Item number 29, second reading and adoption of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro Master Plan and rezoning of Tracts 23A, 23B, 23C, 23D, 24A, 24B, 25A, Block 8 Socorro grant from A1 Agricultural to SU1 Special Use Zone for the expansion of Socorro High School.
Motion to approve as read. Go Bulldogs.
Second.
So on this one, they're asking for a zoning change on this little area right here. The final plat has already been approved. The final plat is going to combine these two lots that you see on the screen. They're going to be combined into one lot, but the only reason is because this area here is still classified agricultural. It's necessary to change it to special use so that they can expand the Socorro High School.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent, Victor Perez.
Aye.
And Ivan Colo Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 30, public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4 ordinance for the City of Socorro, Texas, as per TCEQ Phase 2 MS4 general permit requirements. 731, public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now closed. Item number 31, second reading and adoption of an ordinance for the proposed municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4 ordinance for the City of Socorro, Texas, as per TCEQ Phase 2 MS4 general permit requirements.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Alejandra Valadez, Grants Coordinator. I've been working on the MS4 ordinance as part of one of our special projects through my department. I won't take much of your time. I just want to go over the prohibitions on this ordinance so that we can roll out the new ordinance to our residents. So the intent and purpose is to establish methods for controlling the introduction of pollutants into our storm sewer system. That includes our drains, ditches, storm drains, all of that. So we'll be able to regulate pollutants for stormwater discharges, prohibit illegal connections and discharges. We'll be able to establish the legal authority to enforce the ordinance and to go in and inspect. This ordinance applies to all discharges that are entering our storm drain system within the city of Socorro. So any tires, any illegal dumping that could eventually enter our drain system is also prohibited. On the right is a picture of some tires off of Middle Drain, and on the left is some trash that is on the Mesa Drain that would be addressed through this ordinance. Section 5 talks about the specific prohibitions. What is prohibited through this ordinance is wastewater from washout of concrete and wastewater from water well drilling operations, wastewater from washout and clean out of stucco, paint, oils, and other construction materials, fuels, oils, and other pollutants used in vehicle and equipment operation and maintenance, free or emulsified fats, waxes, greases, or oils, soaps or solvents discharging from dewatering activities, solid or liquid substances that may cause obstruction of the flow in storm sewers, trash, junk, reuse, garbage, grass clippings, tree limbs, all of that. Any other pollutants or material that may have an adverse effect on the environment may endanger life, health, or property, or be a public nuisance. Any discharges that would cause or has the reasonable potential to cause or contribute to a violation of water quality standards. And then it also talks about our response to release of illegal pollutants. It talks about our permit procedures and requirements. It also gives us the authority to enter and inspect any private facilities, businesses that we receive a complaint for. And it provides other stipulations regarding enforcement, criminal prosecution and penalties, fines and fees, and the potential for maintenance agreements. And that is all.
Question.
Ms. Villalobos?
That last piece of information where you said it will allow to go into commercial, is this also personal? This is residential or just commercial?
Any residential properties, businesses, industrial facilities, any person, company, anything that is either polluting or has the potential to pollute our storms system, we have the authority to enter and inspect.
Okay.
Mr. Perez?
We're talking about like the do-it-yourselfers that change their oil at home, and they just
Correct.
put it onto the property.
Yes, that is prohibited, and it's a huge issue because oil is, one drop of oil can pollute up to 500,000 gallons of water.
Wow.
So it's a big deal.
Ms. Villalobos?
So also, I mean, do you have to be near a stream, or it could be nothing like that? Because there's some properties that actually dump in the back all the debris from their construction, and they just leave it there. Yeah.
Anything. So this is stormwater specifically addressing stormwater runoff. So whenever water falls, it has the capacity to carry off any pollutants into our rivers and streams and all of that. So even though the pollution or the dumping might not be near a drain or ditch or anything like that, that would be illegal.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Excellent.
Okay, my biggest concern is our ordinance gonna have teeth? Is our ordinance gonna have a big fine? Because we need to stop people from polluting. We understand that one of the major things that it got clogged up was because it was tires and a refrigerator and all of that, and they clogged the Mesa Spur drain, and it went all the way up to here. So those are the issues. And we also need to address is that if we don't fine them, because a $50 fine ain't gonna cut it, okay? And that's the issue, is that we need to fine them that it's gonna hurt to the point where you stop doing it. Because for me, it will be senseless and pointless to make an ordinance without having good teeth on it. And that's one of the things that I would like to see, that it'll have the maximum, is that the maximum?
No.
Okay, the maximum, because we have a lot of violators that keep violating it. There has been people where I have personally been called out and gone out, and they're almost getting in a fight because the person who called me took pictures of them. Okay, I know we're understaffed in our police department, okay, but one of the things is that the guy almost got beat up by the person who was doing a potential future violation, right? So that's what I want to address, is it needs to be a hefty fine.
Right, and so the fine exists there per violation. And then I think one of the things that has to be reiterated, this is not a local ordinance, this is a federal requirement. So this is coming from the EPA, then it's passed down to the states. So the TCEQ is requiring us to impose this as a functionality of the size of the municipality. So it becomes a double-edged sword, because if we're not out there sending our code enforcers along with our PD, the EPA or the TCEQ can also inspect and fine the city. So I can, rest assured that we will be out there.
Mr. Rodriguez?
But so we're gonna set the ordinance, correct? So we can also impose our fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay, remember that.
Yes, sir. There's flexibility at the local level.
Okay, perfect.
I have a
Ms.
question.
Villalobos?
And I know Mr. Hernandez is here, and he's been an ally to me for all the illegal dumping that's going on in my district and around his area. And there's constantly a lot of dumping because there's a long stretch of canal or irrigation ditch. Is there anything out there that we could put cameras that would be funded, and it would record, and you could take license plate and actually video of the people? Because it costs us a lot of money to go out and send our people to pick up the trash.
I think one of the things that I can do is come back and look at best practices. We are aware of abutting agencies that do use surveillance. One of the things that they told us is that they have stolen the cameras.
Even way up high?
Yes. So one of the agencies that we're working with, part of the coordinated effort, the question was raised is that, can we have surveillance? And they said we did that, and they took our cameras along with everything else. So I think one of the things here is that it's always going to be a cat and mouse game, but certainly I will come back and advise the city manager on what are the tools that we have, and then of course the cost to that.
I have another question. How about participating residents that have cameras and nobody can tell where they're at? If we could do something like that.
I think what
okay with it.
I think as part of the advocacy here is that if there's neighbors that understand that this violation is occurring, is first to call the city. That way we can, curb it. But more importantly, if they have surveillance and they hand it over, I'm sure that there'll be some elements that PD can capitalize on that surveillance tape.
Oh, no, I was saying we provide it for them, we can hide them, I'm sure we.
Well, I think the only thing there is that we have to be very cautious in using municipal dollars on private properties.
Yeah.
So it goes back as if we're cleaning their property. So any type of component like that where the municipal dollars is used, we have to make sure that it serves the public interest and not in the private capacity.
Well, no, I wasn't talking about private. I was talking about, hey, I volunteer my house. You can put a camera and use it for your function.
Well, I
not
think
for
it,
my personal use, but
I think if that tool becomes available, we'll run it through legal, and then we'll get an opinion.
okay. Alrighty. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez?
Aye.
And Iván Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Item number 32, public hearing of an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Administration, Chapter 8, Business, Chapter 12, Emergency Management and Services, Chapter 18, Health and Public Welfare, Chapter 22, Human Relations and Social Services, Chapter 28, Nuisances, Chapter 36, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places, Chapter 38, Zoning, Chapter 42, Traffic and Vehicles, and Chapter 46, Zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City, and to amend various sections thereunder pertaining to the establishment of a planning and zoning supervisor and the assignment of duties formerly assigned to the Director of the Planning and Zoning Department and the Planning Director, and to amend various sections of Chapter 46, zoning to eliminate the administrative official and assign its duties to the building official. 7:43, public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now closed. Item number 33, second reading and adoption of an ordinance to amend Chapter 2 Administration, Chapter 8 Business, Chapter 12 Emergency Management and Services, Chapter 18 Health and Public Welfare, Chapter 22 Human Relations and Social Services, Chapter 28 Nuisances, Chapter 36 Streets, Sidewalks and Other Public Places, Chapter 38 Zoning, Chapter 42 Traffic and Vehicles, and Chapter 46 Zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City, and to amend various sections thereunder pertaining to the establishment of a planning and zoning supervisor and the assignment of duties formerly assigned to the Director of the Planning and Zoning Department and the Planning Director, and to amend various sections of Chapter 46 Zoning to eliminate the administrative official and to assign its duties to the building official.
At this time, I would like to make a motion to postpone until the next meeting. I would like to, I know it's gonna be a lot, but I would like a copy of it so I can see it in its entirety, because I didn't have time to look at this.
It's in your backup.
No, I know, and that's what I'm saying, I would like to postpone, so.
Second.
And I would like a copy of the whole thing so that I can go in there and see, because I'm gonna do that. So that's why I need to the following. I know it's gonna be a lot.
Rene Rodriguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez.
Aye.
Iván Polo Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 34, discussion and action on approving the unaudited financial reports for March 2019.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Rene Rodriguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez.
Aye.
And Iván Polo Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 35, discussion and action to approve job description for patrol corporal in the police department.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Evening, Mayor and Council. David Burton, Chief of Police, City of Socorro. I believe last council meeting that you heard a proposal for our organizational changes within the police department. Part of that was the span of control for supervision, specifically targeting our patrol units and officers on the road. The hardest jump, in my experience, the hardest jump for an officer to make is from the patrol officer position to sergeant. Because in one day you're expected to know everything. There is no training ground for sergeant as our organization currently sits, and as a corporal you will be working under a sergeant's tutelage if you decide to approve this position, and therefore that gives us that training ground necessary as a road supervisor, and then later on they can learn the administrative side, which is what the sergeant does, but it gives us a starting point for those individuals that are interested in furthering their career as far as supervision.
Question.
Ms. Villalobos?
Can we ask a salary question? I know at one point we were, yes, we can. What is the current salary right now?
So it's proposed that we do this. I looked at what the sergeant was making versus what the difference was in our top step or top paid patrol officers, and there's a $20,000 difference between sergeant and patrol officer. So I was looking for something that was halfway in between. So my recommended was the $26.25 an hour, which puts him at $10,000, or a little bit. Actually, it's a little exceeding $10,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Rene Rodriguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran is absent. Victor Perez.
Aye.
And Iván Polo Villalobos.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
At this time, can I call a 10-minute recess?
5 minutes.
Do we have anything for executive? We do? Okay, yeah, I think. I was gonna say we're almost done, but,
No, we have.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second.
Oh, okay.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
7:48, we are now in recess.